it, 46, so we're damn near in the 30s, and we can forget about it. Time flies. Something magical happens when you get within 30-something days to football. All the things you thought you were going to do, suddenly you feel that pressing upon you. It's brutal. You think, oh, man, I don't have time. I don't have enough time. Coaches feel that way, too. 55 days until Florida State kicks it off. A little bit different. Feels like you can breathe a little bit when it comes to Florida State. But lest we forget, my favorite player in Florida State history, Marvin Jones, was number 55. So it's an easy selection for the jersey day comparison and who we're picking. It's Shade Tree all day, every day. For those that don't know, maybe you're younger and you don't realize why it is Marvin Jones is talked about the way he is in the annals of football history at Florida State. There haven't been too many guys that belong in the same sentence as Marvin Jones. But Marvin Jones finished fourth in the Heisman vote as a linebacker in 1992. That's how good Marvin Jones was. I was in school while Marvin was here, and I got to go watch that guy play. And you guys all remember the shirts. Try keeping up with the Joneses. I had that shirt. I kept that shirt, Tom Lang, until I was probably 40. And then the threads just like, we can't do it anymore. I had that sucker. It was going to go into a museum of sorts. But it finally broke apart. I wore it too much. I wore it all the time. I wore it to every game that year.
Well, it's because you wore it too much. There are a lot of shirts or things that we keep that we don't ever use. They just sit there. But you put it to use.
No, I did.
That's what it was for.
He was my guy, man. 369 tackles between 90 and 92. 369 tackles. He was a monster. Top 10 all time for Florida State as far as that goes. He had more than 100 tackles in each of his 3 seasons. So, again, you could just pencil him in as a guy that was going to be on, Marvin Jones on the play. That's pretty much what you heard over and over. I told you last year at Clark's Middle School at Montford where he played football, they had a running back who was a do-all-everything, and I basically called them the fighting, whatever that kid's last name was. I can't remember now. He every time they made a play, it was that kid making a play on either side of the ball. And Clark would get in the car and be like, can you help that poor kid out? Jesus, he's on every play. He carries the ball 38 times a game. He throws it, catches it, runs it. Then he's on the defensive side making every tackle. Somebody else has got to contribute, Clark. That was Marvin Jones, and he was on a loaded team. He was that good. He was everywhere all the time. Consensus All-American, both in 91 and 92. Just, he was a top 10 pick, top 5 pick in the NFL draft. You can't go wrong with Marvin Jones. And it always gets me excited when I see a reason to talk about him.
Well, there's a question for this season's team. How many All-Americans could Florida State produce with this roster?
Well, a lot of it has to do with what you are in the system, and yep. Jordan Travis could be an All-American, I suppose. Certainly, one of those receivers, either Keon or Johnny, could be an All-American.
It's an uphill climb for Jordan to be an All-American. It just feels like that this offense is going to be so balanced. It's tough for one guy to stand out.
Yeah, I agree.
Jared Verse probably is a top candidate to be an All-American.
I think probably the best candidate to be an All-American. If Jared Verse is healthy, people project him, depending on which you want to look at, as a top 10 pick. Some people, as we saw last week when we were talking about it, some people had him as a top 5 pick in the NFL draft. If he's healthy for every game this year and gets to benefit greatly from the strength in the interior and the continued development of Patrick Payton on the other side, Jared could wreak havoc. He could have a year. That 1-2 punch could be pretty evil on third and obvious, second and long, you name it. That could be a big day at the office for either of those two guys. But Jared Verse is obviously the candidate to be the All-American there. Trey Benson could be, certainly. If you can get Benson 20 carries, 18 to 20 carries a game, yeah, man, he's a monster.
He might well be an All-American even with only 15 carries if the touch count's in the mid to upper teens. Just because, again, this offense is so multifaceted that he's going to see, I would think, a lot of 7-man boxes. I mean, it used to be not that long ago in the preseason of last year that what would you do to stop Florida State offensively? This is before we knew where Jordan Travis was going and where the offense would go. It was, well, I'm going to load the box and force Jordan Travis to beat me with his arm.
Yeah.
That plan, that's gone. With Johnny on one side, Keon Coleman and Jaheim Bell, you can't do that anymore.
Mm-mm.
So Trey Benson and this offensive line are going to be in more advantageous situations this year than we've seen at Florida State in a long time.
I was just on the Chuck Oliver show, and he was talking about, the backfield and offense. And, Florida State led the ACC in scoring last year. Okay, whatever. They also led the ACC in rushing. So that's a little bit different deal. And so people might not figure that out. They would have figured the scoring because of all the touchdowns with Jordan Travis and, what we saw from this receiving corps last year, the big plays and all of that. But it's really the fact that they can line up and run the ball. And I think it's who they want to be. They want to run the ball. And, it's going to be fascinating to watch each of the game plans for every one of these games. Like, what's the game plan against LSU? Is it the same as it was a year ago? What was amazing about a year ago is from the jump. And how many times did this happen, Tom? It did. It happened a lot. And we would always kind of look at each other or text each other if we weren't around. The Clemson game stands out in this way. We thought, all right, you can't block that group. You got NFL defensive linemen. You got kids that are going in the first 2 rounds all over that defense. Probably got to throw it to open it up and run it. To be able to run the ball, you're going to have to throw it a lot early and then go from there. Florida State did the opposite. For what Mike Norvell and Alex Atkins came up with, they saw something on tape, and this is where I praise them all the time about game plans. I trust them. No, we're going to run the ball. We're going to run the ball, and we're going to have success running the ball. And that's just the way it's going to be. And that's exactly what they did. And they did that to a lot of people when we didn't think that they could. They were successful running the ball against LSU too.
No, they were. They dominated both lines of scrimmage in that game in a way that was alarming. And it changed what you thought was possible in 4 quarters. Because if you look at the balance of the game, not the finish of the game, Florida State was the winner in the trenches against an SEC opponent that would go on to win the West.
Right.
It's just crazy. And that's where I think the basis for a lot of these leaps in expectations begins, is in moments like that where the offensive line did dominate. And I think they can do a better job of that this year. I think they're better 1 through 7.
I do too.
They're better than they were last year. The thing about what they do is, okay, so you say that they want to run a gap scheme, they want to run counter. That looks on a grease board to be like the same play over and over again. But the brilliance of what they do on the ground is they will run the same scheme 5 different ways.
Yes, they do.
And then they've got
different looks.
They've got 3 plays off of it. They can run out of 6 or 7 different formations, but the concept is the same, and the foundation is so strong. The teaching points in practice is so strong that the guys know what to do. Even if you play a different defense, you've got a 3-3-5 versus 4 down linemen, whatever. They know their rules. They know how they're coached. It reminds me of a really well-coached option team. I'm talking straight Army or Navy.
Yeah, they run it out of a lot.
It.
Yeah, and they create extra gaps, and they do all that. Yeah.
But that's one book within the playbook. Then there's also outside zone, which they got a hell of a lot better at. And I think they're going to be able to run between the tackles this year, too.
Just run power? Just line up and run power?
Remember, stop the dive against Malzahn and offenses like that, guys. You got to stop the dive on first down, because then they get going. They get their tempo going.
They got 4 on first, you're in trouble.
I think they can do that this year. I think this group can do that this year.
Dave Doherty, I'm looking at you in the chat. Good job, buddy. We like to find the smallest number to make ourselves feel better about the joy that is the beginning of college football, and you've done it. 8 libations Fridays away. Wow. Fewer than that if we're just counting the start of college football. Not Florida State football, but college football. Holy moly.
It's only a handful before. No, sorry. It's only a trio before camp or so. I think that's right.
Yeah. So it's a weird, busy time. Soon we'll have to kind of unveil all of our schedules and what's happening and what we're doing.
Boy, I've seen somebody's itinerary.
Oh, my goodness. How about that, huh?
Wow. I was privy. Everybody's going to learn about it soon, but sir. Somebody's going to be busy, and it ain't me.
Yeah, but it's a good kind of busy, buddy. It's a good kind of busy. I'm really looking forward to it. Very busy, but in a good way. And, soon enough, also, we'll all be busy headed up to Charlotte.
Yep.
And making our way up there and covering that event. Really look forward to that. Already had a few inquiries from other outlets, and we were talking about, getting together on Radio Row, kind of,
back on Radio Row.
Yeah, reaching out, shaking hands, kissing babies, talking college football with those that cover it throughout the conference. Should be fun. We'll talk to coaches and players. We'll have a good time. We'll talk to Mike Norvell, obviously. He'll be in that relaxed way that he is at the ACC kickoff, but he'll also be noticeably ready to go because it's time. I mean, it's time. You almost feel like it's time right now. You want as much time as possible before you play a game like this one, the magnitude of LSU.
Well, and he's going to be the belle of the ball this year. And that has not been the case for Mike Norvell at Florida State. It was about how quickly can he turn it around? How fractured are things down there? How much do you need to fix?
Oh, yeah.
What was it like coming off of the COVID season, Coach? What are the difficulties associated with that and not being able to establish yourself in a footprint recruiting-wise? And then overnight, from last ACC kickoff, where there are 3 or 4 coaches that were given a hell of a lot more attention than Mike Norvell, Florida State is a co-favorite, essentially, betting favorite in the ACC. It's going to be a completely different experience for him because those breakout rooms are going to be a hell of a lot more full when he speaks at the dais. And then we need to keep people away from him on Radio Row so we can get the real story of what's going on with him, because I like how the coaches tend to open up to you over the years.
They do. They take it takes a little while, but over time they do. We get into a conversational mode, and it's a lot of fun. That's really
because you can break past the procedural questions. We know the breakout room, the TV dais, and all the other stuff. Yeah. He'll answer over there.
Yeah.
Let's talk about something real.
Yeah, let's talk. How you feeling these days, buddy? Well, Mike is regimented, so he's always the same. He's in good shape. He's well rested. He eats well. He works out. He's locked in on football all the time. So I don't think that's going to change. It'll be noticeable the day that it does. A little punch on Norvell, huh? How about that? Like, we haven't seen that, right? So
when we went 0-4, I said, could you put some weight on? Could I see the stress, please? Sir, how are you still in immaculate physical condition? We haven't won a football game. You should be spending more time in the office.
It always goes one of two ways. You're either going to get heavy because you're eating your feelings and frustrations, and or you're going to be a madman in the gym in order to exercise the demons, right? That's kind of how that goes. One of two ways, typically. By the way, really quick, last night in the draft, it's not hard to see how LSU and Florida and Wake Forest and others had really good years. But my beloved Pittsburgh Pirates did the right thing. They usually do the wrong thing. They usually trade this pick away for other assets or more picks down the line. Did you see they got Paul Skeens from LSU? Kid'll be in the majors in a little over a year. All right.
How about 2 months?
Well,
call him on up.
Might as well. The old 12-2 with a 1.6. Yeah, maybe. Throws 4 pitches for strikes. He's huge. Works hard. Yes, let's go.
He'll be starting Friday.
He could. So anyhow, he goes 1. Dylan Cruz of LSU goes 2. They have the 1-2. So you have the number 1 player in the field, and you have the best pitcher in the country. That's a wonderful combo. Must be a big pot to draw from there for their baseball NIL. Sizable pot in Baton Rouge for their baseball NIL. 4th player overall was Wyatt Langford, who went to the Rangers. Of course, he starred at Florida, where, he just hit 373 with 21 bombs and an OPS of over 1,200. That's all.
Yeah, the Mets took a Gator pitcher at 56 or whatever, somewhere in that ballpark.
You had to be like, good. They're all good. Well, they're all good always.
They took him 70th last year. He only improved by a hand. And same team, just a few picks earlier, but that tells you that NIL presence is a real thing in baseball. It went back for another year. Worst case, I get drafted by the same team 15 spots higher. Maybe that's a little bit more slot money, but it doesn't cost you money to go back anymore if you're operating at some of these programs. It doesn't cost you a whole lot of money at all. In fact, I was listening to MLB Network Radio the other day, and there are lifers in the minor leagues that say, you know what? You should spend more time in college, because if you're good, you're going to get paid. And when you go on the road, you go to all the nice hotels. All your food is taken care of.
Yes, it's a lot better than playing.
It's a better life than minor league baseball in your late teens.
That's changed. I will say, and we've learned a lot here, only 1 high school pitcher went in the first round of the first 28 picks. That is a trend that follows the other trends where pitchers and catchers coming out of high school no longer really get drafted in the first round. They go to college. They go to college because they're viewed as too big a risk. The distance between when they'll be in the majors, when they get to you, and where they are now, it's too great. I can't, countless times we watch teams take a pitcher out of high school back in the day, 2 Tommy Johns later, and they're a cautionary tale of why you don't take pitchers that are 17 years old. It's a long trek to get back up there. But you're seeing it more. The college game has gotten better, and it's evident in the draft when 4 of the first 5 players are all college. Yeah, it's gotten better in this amongst the best teams. We're not amongst those teams.
Right.
We're not even close. We just get our head kicked in by those teams.
Stadium got a little bit better.
We'll see if that gets better. Hey, thanks for the kind responses to you guys out there with the Chip Baker interview. I ran into Chip as I thought I might on that Friday.
Oh yeah. Okay.
We took a little photo together and had a few pops at Gordo's, and it was a good time. Chip Baker celebrating his retirement, and he was the talk of the room there. It was nice.
Did you have the chorizo sliders?
I did not.
Oh,
I didn't eat while I was there.
That is my new obsession in town. Those things are so good.
They're delicious. They are. That's an advertisement right there. Jeff Cameron Show, 93.3 Real Talk Radio, Warchant TV.
You worked hard all day and are settled in for a little downtime by relaxing in your hammock located in a nice shady spot in your beautiful North Florida backyard. Then one gets you, then another, and another, and another. Mosquitoes have you sprinting to the back door, and you just pray none get inside as you open it. That's pretty much the story here this time of year. Mosquitoes are ruining our time in our yards. They're pretty much taking over when the sun starts going down. Paul's Termite and Pest Control has an inexpensive solution to this persistent problem. Paul's has a program which treats the grounds, flower beds, shrubs, and standing water. Paul's program controls mosquitoes year-round, which means you can take back control of your yard. Not only are mosquitoes a physical irritation, they also pose potential health risk to people and pets. Enjoy your yard again, mosquito-free. Call Paul's Termite and Pest Control today for your free consultation.
For the elimination of any pest, call Paul. We'll get them all.
Visit Paul's online at callpauls.com. Callpauls.com.
Barry knows cool. He's keeping you comfortable.
This is Kyle, Service Manager from Barano Heating and Air. Schedule an appointment from your mobile device to learn about our Total Comfort Service Program. With guaranteed same-day service, 15% off necessary repairs, and $25 Barry books to use towards air filters and other products. Turn to the experts at Carrier and Barano Heating and Air. Any day, anytime, anywhere. Online at baranoac.com.
Florida license CAC 1816-186.
Choose Hearth & Patio for custom fireplaces, maintenance, outdoor grills, kitchens, fire pits, lighting, and so much more. Check out all of Hearth & Patio's options online at hearthpatiotallahassee.com. Hearth & Patio, they keep the home fires burning.
Hey, this is your stomach speaking. It's time to eat again. We met deadlines and closed out the workday like a boss. The last thing you want to do is cook dinner. Even worse, pick up any fast food garbage. We need something good, something local. We need foodiestakeout.com. An all-star lineup of local spots like Smitty's Tap House, El Jalisco, Jerry's Cafe, Hangar 38, Metro Deli, and more. It's so easy. Just choose pickup or delivery, and let's eat the good stuff. I'm growling already. Visit foodiestakeout.com.
Hi, this is Jamie McClenny from Trek Financial in Tallahassee. Managing downside risk in your portfolio is one of the biggest challenges that you'll face in retirement. Trillions of dollars in stimulus from the Federal Reserve and D.C. politicians, combined with zero interest rates, have propped up financial markets since the financial crisis ended in 2009. The Fed recently ended quantitative easing and has started to raise interest rates at a time when the global economy was already slowing. Have you considered what another 50% correction in the stock market would do to your retirement plan? If you're concerned about where this all might be headed and would like to find out about the potential benefits of an active risk management strategy for your portfolio, give me a call at 850-900-5200 and schedule a time for a review of your portfolio from an active risk management perspective.
Make Jamie your first call for a second opinion. Investment advisory services are offered through Trek Financial, LLC, an SEC-registered investment advisor.
Hi, this is Justin Colvin, founder of the Medicare Help Desk. I routinely speak to seniors who are overwhelmed by the multitude of coverage options available to them. That's why I created the Medicare Help Desk radio show. Tune in every Sunday at 11:30 a.m. where I provide clear answers to all your questions about Medicare.
We all want more energy, more strength, more results. Well, welcome to Orange Theory Fitness as you take a step towards feeling more alive today. Backed by science, Orange Theory's heart rate monitored workout is scientifically designed to keep heart rates in a target zone, spiking metabolism and increasing energy. Orange Theory Fitness is a one-of-a-kind group personal training workout resulting in more energy, visible toning, and extra calorie burn for up to 36 hours. Experience a more vibrant life today with Orange Theory Fitness. To find out more, go to orangetheoryfitness.com.
Welcome back to the Jeff Cameron Show, sponsored by Legendary Home Loans, a mortgage experience designed around speed, simplicity, and customer service. Before you buy your next home, contact our friend Shannon Young with Legendary Home Loans. Visit FSUHomeLoans.com. FSUHomeLoans.com.
what next week looks like. What next week looks like is very different from this week. This week is standard. I'll be here. Seminole headlines will run tomorrow. We're all good to go with what we've got for this week. Friday being the lone exception. I've got to go out of town on business Friday, and so we may end up recording some stuff Thursday night together, Tom. But that's the lone day that's different this week. Now, next week is very different. It's mostly best of. I can tell you that right now, with some fresh stuff where we can get it in within those best ofs at the start of each hour.
Yep.
We're hoping that is the hope, and I'll explain that.
It'll make a lot more cool kind of sense. Shortly.
Yeah. But can't talk about that just yet. Probably later in the week, maybe Wednesday, and lay it out there for you. And then, of course, like we just said, the week after that, we will be live, but we'll be in Charlotte for the first part of the week.
Yeah.
We come back from Charlotte on Thursday. That may be a travel day, but so that's that Thursday.
Correct. And then that Tuesday and Wednesday, you might not have a full video. They're trying to put the kibosh on the video.
Are they really?
Charlotte. Yeah, from Radio Row.
Why?
I don't know.
There's no real good reason.
Hashtag ACC logic.
Yeah, there would be no good reason to do that whatsoever. You want more publicity, more exposure, not less publicity, less
Maybe
exposure.
they're concerned about the bandwidth exposure.
Okay. What are we doing here, everybody? As for who we'll have from the ACC, we'll have to see once we get there. I see Noel Dad, you asked if we'd have somebody like Mark Richt on. I've had Mark Richt on numerous times, but we'll see. If he's there, then perhaps we'll have Mark Richt on. I don't know.
Usually a lot of the talent style, because he's not a coach anymore. When it was coach, it's basically you submit your requests and you get them or you don't. But the talent side, it could be Coach Richt, it could be somebody on Sirius XM, it could be whoever. If they're feeling it, they'll hop on. If they're not, they're gonna go to the buffet line.
Yeah, they'll go to the buffet line. Is right. I did see. Now this is nothing to get up in arms about, but it's back to college football for just a second here. I did look over at old college football news, and I like to go to all the sites that cover college football in the offseason just to see what they're talking about, what they're looking at. Sometimes you'll stumble across a really good article or some sort of insight, rules changes, things like that. We're in the weeds in the summertime, especially during All-Star Week and Home Run Derby Week and all that. You realize, we're almost there, kids. We've almost made it to the other side. The other side's the end of July. Basically, that's when you've made it to the other side. You're done previewing college football. You're talking about the actual on-the-ground events.
Also, the Derby has gotten better than the game itself. Just saying. So tonight's the night to watch.
The game used to be so good.
Yeah.
They cared. They played.
And now it's like, all right, everybody gets an inning.
Yeah.
We don't even wear our uniforms anymore. We wear the Seattle. It'll be the Seattle-style uniforms on the field tomorrow. It's goofy.
They predicted, did CFN, that Clemson would go, I think prior to the spring, they had them 9-3. After them, they have them 10-2. They have them win totals. They haven't beaten FSU down there.
So they'll lose 2 games, but one of them's not to us?
I know, it's weird, right?
Are they picking Mac Brown in North Carolina to beat Clemson in November?
They have them losing to South Carolina on the road,
Ooh.
and then I didn't see where the other loss was, but they did have. I'm like, I don't know about that, guys.
If the South Carolina game was in September, I might be inclined to agree with you. But you're saying that Klubnik has a full season under his belt. That's a tough sell.
Yeah, and that is the big question because they're good pretty much everywhere else. And they have them beating Florida State. He ended up going, let's see, the loss was at Miami. No chance.
What?
Yeah. Not going that route at all. Not going that route at all.
Crackpipe.com/college football.
It was, and FUTech does a good job for them, but I was like, ooh, man, really? So we're going to get that big Miami turnaround we've all been waiting on for 30 years. It's 20 years, but yeah, a little over.
It was still AOL. It was AOL's world.
I keep thinking over and over again about the importance of that LSU game. It's not lost on anybody. It's redundant. We have hammered this thing home. But if you can win that game, not only is it the first game of the season that if you win it and you exhale, you really do exhale because it does not matter what happens in week 4. It matters to you emotionally. It matters to you in terms of what the nation is going to talk about regarding Florida State and how they're covered. But it really is an irrelevant game. The get-out-of-jail-free card you get for beating LSU is massive. It's not just like, oh, well, maybe this buys you time. No, you are set. Unless you stumble along the way to teams we're not predicting you lose to, teams that you're favored over significantly. You know, you can lose that game, and everybody knows it's just a precursor to round 2.
Yeah, well, the talking point that week, if you're 3-0 going up to Clemson, would be keep the card in the safety deposit box, and that's it. You don't want to spend it this week, so that way you just have it into October. And if you have it into October, you're going to have it into November. And if you have it into November, you get on the other side of Miami, and it pretty much is all right.
You don't even have to say that. They're here. This is going to be an ass stomping. They're going to take another beating.
Well, after that, it's North Alabama and Florida. So at that point, you pretty much just have the card. It's good to go.
I have more concerns about playing Florida at Florida than I do Miami here, certainly.
That's an interesting one. I'm not sure about that personally, because Miami has the better quarterback. He was hurt last year.
He didn't play well, yeah.
And Florida's roster purge, season over season, is significant, and they didn't exactly play good defense with a bunch of NFL defenders. They didn't play consistent offense with a top 5 pick. So I don't know where the replenishment is coming from for Florida, whereas Miami, I do think, has more skill. But then again, it's Miami in November, and they don't like that month at all in Miami.
No, I did think that Florida will be, from an athlete standpoint, from a size standpoint in the trenches, from the overall recruiting from prior to, what we've talked about the last year. They've got guys. They've had some guys. When you look at them on the hoof, when you look at them the way we looked at them when they came in here, you could see like they should be better. You're right. That's a criticism, but that's a fair criticism only if you also note it was year 1. I mean, okay, so, lots of programs are in disarray in year 1 when the guy comes in.
Sure. It's just perhaps if Mertz has proven
he's
to
terrible.
be
He's
terrible as he is, and they find a young kid that they rally around.
Well, you're
I
right.
might be more fearful, but if it's Van Dyke and Mertz, man, I'm more worried about the Van Dyke matchup.
The Van Dyke who plays and plays well is a different animal. He was at times 2 years ago a player that you thought, "Ooh, this could be a problem." He's got all the throws, and he's But we're
2-0,
and we beat that version of Van Dyke as well.
And I mean, if you're looking at points of concern beyond, if you took away the rivalry element of those games, it's LSU followed by Clemson followed by Pitt to me for concern. Now you add the rivalry in, and maybe Miami or Florida sneaks into that group. But if you're just looking at placement on the schedule, difficulty of the roster you're facing, it's LSU, then Clemson, then Pitt, probably are your 3.
Yeah, I think that's probably right. It's the schedule's easy. We're just you really when you start playing this game, you really realize,
should do.
Yeah,
that's another reason why I'm a playoffs or bust guy.
Yeah,
if this was 2 years from now schedule and you're going to play Alabama and Florida and Notre Dame, I mean, there is that one schedule that's coming up pretty soon, assuming the SEC will still field those types of matchups if they don't go to non-conference games, where you go, good God, Florida State, that's a little much. But this is not that year.
No. P. Simpson, Jeff, the Virginia Tech SID's name is Chris Helms. Interview him just for the hell of it. We should. We absolutely should. And I saw that you noted earlier in the chat, I just got back to it. When is it nut cutting time for the Daryl Jackson waiver from P. Simpson? If there's a deadline date, could we see a Warchant 24-hour live stream leading up to it? Election night style coverage? I have not pinpointed a nut-cutting day for whether or not Daryl Jackson has his waiver. Florida State has it in hand, knowing we're good to go. I would think by the time practice starts is probably the date. You just need him to be able to start practice on time and be ready to go.
Well, he can, even if the waiver said no for this year. He could practice with us. So if it's in limbo, I know this makes everybody uncomfortable. It's the Monday of LSU week. That's nut cutting time because you need to get your reps in with the 1s and the 2s the proper way as you prepare for LSU. But you could, in theory, just rotate your top 4 defensive tackles for the entirety of camp, not knowing what's coming, because he can practice with you. This isn't like Dimitri, where Dimitri had to sit and wait. It's different.
I would like it long before the week of the game, partly because I want the guys who are going to be playing the lion's share of the reps to be getting the most valuable snaps in practice with the starters. The sooner you know that, the better you are, and the better that you can schedule out their days, their reps, proper rest, the good on good moments, when to dial back, when to really engage, to get them right for game day. The longer it goes on, the more in limbo you are with how to schedule that and how to get which player, which amount, whom do you have get these reps on this day, not knowing this very important piece of information. It gets more difficult. You want to rep him. You got to get him ready. You want him in game shape. You want him to be ready to go and get after it day one. This is a big-time matchup against big kids in the trenches. He's going to want to have real quality reps. But do I take those reps away from a guy who's going to be filling his role because we don't have the damn waiver yet? I mean, that's problematic.
It's a tough question, but I think if the situation was akin to last year's where Fabian Lovett's the only guy you trust, and that's Daryl Jackson, that's a bigger problem. But
sure,
if you're going to average 30 to 45 reps a game, if you're one of the top 4 defensive tackles for Florida State, that means your rotation doesn't have to change much from camp. It's not as drastic, the drop off from one to the next. So I think you're insulated a little bit because you have that much more depth. But we'll see. We'll see how they handle it. Hopefully they never have to worry about it because Coach Norvell gets to tell everybody at ACC kickoff or sooner that it came through.
Man, we need to find that out. Now I'm getting nervous. Now you guys have made me nervous. Now I'm sitting around driving around the rest of Tallahassee today after 3 o'clock going, damn it. Well, I'm running errands. I want to know. That dude's a huge part of what Florida State would need to take the extra step forward of being a college football playoff team and a contender once they're there. He's a monster. Now, I'm making a lot of assumptions, and I want everybody to know that here because I get that if you watched college football closely and you said, well, Jeff, he was at Maryland and whatever, and then he was at Miami, and he was good, but he wasn't a game changer. He didn't dominate the line of scrimmage. That was not a good team. It was not a good defense. They didn't play with a lot of heart. They were broken down there in Miami, so he was part of a brokenness that's hard to overcome for a single individual. That's all true. But you're right. In 2 years of college football, he hasn't been this transformational player that I describe him as. And I understand why you would push back on that and say, well, maybe he is, but we have never seen him be that in the college game. Well, I'm just telling you that I'm counting on several factors. The first of which is something that we can all see for ourselves, regardless of the level he's played at up to now. And that is nobody else on this defensive line looks like that. And nobody else, when they've decided that they want to win that rep, dominates that rep the way that he does. Now, we got guys who can do it, and guys who play really well, and guys that are plus players, and guys that will get drafted, and guys that you love on this defensive line. But when Daryl decides, I've had enough, or I'm angry, or this is just pissing me off because I'm getting yelled at, he destroys people because he's a monster. So I need him to play like that all the time. Don't know that I can get him to do it. That's Odell's job. The other part of that is, and I don't know this, but let me presume for a second that he doesn't love football. That he's good at football. He's always been told to play football. He was bigger and stronger than everybody else, and he dominated in football, but that's different than loving football. When you love football, you see it. You watch guys, you go out there, you're like, this guy just loves to play the game. He can't wait for the next rep. He can't wait for the next opportunity. He can't wait to kick your ass. This is what he lives for.
Timmy Jernigan.
That's correct. That guy, you watch that guy in practice, you're like, damn, I would hate to have to line against that every single day, line up against that because I know he's never going to take a day off.
He'd come in for garbage time reps in 2012 and then do the Loco Ocho dance in a TV timeout.
Right.
When Florida State's up 40 points, Duke's got their third string offensive line in, and he just can't wait to destroy the kid across from him. You think if I'm the center, that's an unlucky day. Like, oh, great.
Oh,
so I got the try-hard freshman here. That's awesome.
And everybody knows from any sport you ever played at any level, there's the guy that is ridiculous. The guy that just will not take a day or a play or a series off, whatever it is. And you hate that guy and you love that guy. You love that guy because he's on your team, and that's what's going to help win you games on Friday nights or Saturdays or Sundays or whatever it might be, right? You hate that guy because you're really tired and it's Wednesday and it's 97. And do we have to go like we're playing in the Super Bowl on every single rep, Kyle? Do we have to do that? Are you going to cut me on this play 2 hours into practice? Do I have to worry about my knees out here today? We're teammates, dude. It's a walkthrough. It's all right, man. How about I grab you, you grab me, we tussle for a second, and then we're done.
No, my life's on the line.
It's crazy, right? That guy. Well, you love that guy and you hate that guy. Well, Daryl's not that guy. He is not that guy. And thank goodness for this offensive line that he's not. But, again, if you're trying to get him to that place where I describe him the way that I do, it's your arm around him and say, look, man, you don't have to love to play football. You can hate practice. You can hate it. You got 1 year to change your and your family's life. It's this year. This is the one. All those years where you just did it because they told you should play. This is the year where it pays off. This is it.
And moreover,
yeah,
it's September of this year.
Yeah.
Make a splash in week 1. Make a splash in week 4.
Right.
And buddy,
those 2 games.
You're on your way.
You're paid. You're paid. You're paid. You go against upper crust NFL caliber talent in these 2 games. If you whoop ass in these 2 games, you're going to get drafted in the first 2 rounds. You're going to be a multimillionaire. That's it. That's all. I need you to do that.
And when we play against Duke and Syracuse and Virginia Tech,
I'll give Farmer the reps.
And Io cares.
Yeah, he needs to.
It's okay.
Right.
He's at a different place in his career.
Yeah, 15, 20 reps. You just kind of go out there. Yeah.
You can have fun first drive of each half.
There you go.
And then I'm going to give it to Io.
So, that's what I'm hoping happens to go along with the waiver. If you get the waiver and you get the motivation, you got a player that can dominate college football and win these big games for you. He'll be a part of that anyhow. Jeff Cameron Show, 93.3 Real Talk Radio, Warchant TV.
Your local news now.
A former Florida corrections officer who is currently on trial for a deadly hit and run was arrested and charged with multiple felonies, one of which was an attempted bank robbery, all while awaiting his court date. Ryan Denzel Smith Mosley, now 26, is charged in Leon County with leaving the scene of a crash involving death and tampering with physical evidence. He's accused of being behind the wheel on January 6, 2020, when his car hit 26-year-old Jeremiah Bruce, who was walking along North Monroe Street. Investigators claim he drove away from the scene. He is expected back in court Friday morning. Taylor County Sheriff's Office is warning locals about a scam. They have received several complaints that an individual who is identifying as a deputy with the sheriff's office is calling people and informing them that they have a warrant for their arrest. The person then asked the victim to send money to avoid being arrested. A cloned phone number is being used by the individual. The sheriff's office says they would never contact you and ask for any type of cash transaction over the telephone. This is Rachel Lene with your Real Talk 93.3 Local News Update, brought to you by Macklemore Systems, Tallahassee's go-to Mac store. Check them out online at MacklemoreSystems.com.
This is meteorologist Paul Trombley with your Real Talk 93.3 weather update. Cloudy skies expected this afternoon with scattered thunderstorms likely. Daytime highs approaching 87. Southwesterly winds 10 to 15 miles per hour. Partly cloudy skies tonight. Chance for scattered thunderstorms. Lows level off around 74. Scattered thunderstorms likely tomorrow. High temperatures reach up to 91. A mix of clouds and sun. This report is brought to you by The Lawn Johns. For all your landscaping and lawn care needs, visit thelawnjohns.com. Right now, 82.
Hey, no fans, our partner ISF Inc. is a national management and IT consulting firm located right here in Tallahassee, Florida, solving the future for state governments through strategy, process, and technology. As a trusted advisor for state governments, ISF knows the importance of defining a clear and detailed strategy. Our friends at ISF can help your organization create a strategy that sets you on a path to success. ISF, your vision plus our expertise brings your brilliant ideas to life. Visit ISF.com to learn more. ISF, solving the future. My man, Eddie.
Jeff, what's happening, dude?
Bears eating people all over the place. I read another article today. It's the 3rd one in the last month of somebody getting mauled to death by a bear.
Man, bears have their own space. Well, you got to let them have that.
You do. You got to stay clear of bears, is what you're saying. Yes. I got a question for you. Here you go. If you had to be mauled to death, eaten alive by any animal in the world, which would you choose to eat you alive?
Ooh, I think maybe I'd want, longevity time, a mouse.
Just slow burn.
Slow little burn.
This thing's just finished the pinky. It's been a month.
I could go to work. I could still do my thing. I could probably live 30 years.
I thought you were going to say great white because it'd be quick, or a grizzly. We went with mouse.
Yeah, mouse.
Okay, mouse it is. Gordo's bringing the flavor and flair of Cuban food to Tallahassee since 1996.
The Jeff Cameron Show, brought to you by Orange Theory Fitness. 2 Tallahassee locations, Midtown on Thomasville Road and Northside in the Village Common Shopping Center. Online at orangetheoryfitness.com.
That's not right. They're not playing baseball at this hour, are they? Could be. Braves go into the break as a team that, would you circle as the one to beat? I think so.
Got to be. Power everywhere. They've lost 4 times in the last 50 games, it feels like, which is not that different from the reality.
Set the first half record for home runs, to your point. They led the league in runs and ERA. That's a problem.
Did they sweep the Rays?
No. They got beat 10-4 yesterday. Got their ass kicked.
All right. So it's the first time they lost outside of the state of Ohio because only the Reds had beaten them since the middle of June.
Took a whooping yesterday. Beat down. Didn't look like the two teams belonged in the same field. What I care most about in that regard is Acuna, because I picked him to win the MVP before the season began, and we talked about it on the air.
I'm sure you got decent odds for him.
Incredible odds. All I did was say, if he's healthy, he's going to win it, which he hasn't been. So if he's healthy, he's going to win it. And he's on pace to do something that nobody's ever done, ever, which would be to steal 75-plus bases in a season in which he hits over 40 home runs. Nobody's ever come close to doing that. That's insane. What's also insane is the Marlins are playing .575 baseball, and nobody knows how. They're in second place. They have a better than 60% chance to make the playoffs, and they're not any good. They're not any good.
What's funny is I think we played 9 times in the first 3 weeks against the Marlins.
Did you lose by 1 run every time?
A few times.
They're 25-5 in 1-run games, Tom.
We took 2 or 3 of them in the opening series of the season, then it went downhill from there. But after I said, are they good?
No.
I think they might be good.
They're not. They're not. Their best pitcher who won the Cy Young a year ago is getting pasted.
They've got Luzardo, my man.
They're not good. They're not good. The second half will be telling. I don't think anybody's ever sustained this record being not good. They're minus in run differential. They're not good.
They'll get down to 86 wins, and they'll become the newest iteration of the 2006 St. Louis Cardinals.
That team won 83 games.
Was it 83?
83. Barely over 500.
Well, they won 4 out of 7 in the NLCS.
Yes, they did.
Sure did.
The Phillies look like a playoff threat finally. They got right in the second half of the first half. There is an article that I got to send you after the show today just for giggles. It's about the person not having any idea how it is Buck Showalter has a job.
Oh, okay. Wait a minute. Was it me?
No. Did you write an article that I don't know about and get it published?
Was it posted at 2:57 a.m.?
He'll make it's fruitless to fire a guy in the middle of the season. He'll make it the season's end.
He's fruitless.
I mean,
there you go.
And the Nationals just merely exist. Meanwhile, in the Central, the Reds are fun to watch, I have to admit, and it's really cool to watch Ellie De La Cruz every night.
Second, third, and home. What
He's
the hell
awesome.
is that?
He's awesome. And if we can't win it, and we can't, then I don't want the Brewers to. So go ahead, Cincinnati, do it. He's fun to watch. And the Cubs are whatever they are, average. The Pirates have had 5 winning streaks of over 4 games, and we're playing 4-10 baseball. That's hard to do. That's hard to do. Now, I will tell you, just about every single reliever that helped lead us to that record has been injured, and there's no depth. And the kids we're calling up are getting pasted.
Did you see and hear the clip of David Ross yesterday getting run at Yankee Stadium?
Yeah, it was funny.
Oh, man. That's an all-timer. When he retires and you have your fireside chat in Tallahassee, that's got to be on the docket. Like, does he make himself chuckle when he's thinking of ways to get thrown out of the game, or what to say after he's thrown out of the game?
Did I catch that part that he said, why aren't you better? Or
he said, we've got one GD game before the All-Star break and you're already this bad?
Why? I think he said why at the end. Yeah.
It's the first inning.
The call he made was terrible. It was this far. Yeah. I mean,
you're about to go on vacation and you're going to mail it in already?
This bad.
Why?
Dodgers and D-backs round out the National League look, tied for the division lead going into the break with the Giants only 2.5 games back. Somehow that happened. My dad just living on the high life for everyone. Every time I look up at the Giants at the first part of the season, they're like 10 games under 500. They're awful. They're 2.5 games back.
They're the Rays of the NL West.
The inability of the Padres to get out of their own way remains one of the great joys of baseball. And then there's the Rockies. So you have all of that in the National League. I'll do American League later. But that's kind of fun. It really just boils back down to the National League. The Braves are just ridiculous. They're really...
At least they proved that when they had to go on a 125-win pace to run us down last year for the division.
They carried it over?
It's sustainable,
Yeah,
apparently.
They carried it over, buddy.
Okay, fine.
You should also know, while you're filling these summer days and getting through and finding ways, before I break, you should go over to Caesars Rewards and check out sportsbookcaesars.com. Not that I'm getting paid, but you can. If you go look at those bet slips, it's for every win total of the 2023 season. They're out there. So that keeps being a thing. It's all about you. You can swim in win totals. I'll give you a sample. Give me the win total over under for the New Mexico Lobos.
The Lobos?
The Lobos, baby, coming out of left field on you.
5.5.
3.5, Tom. They're terrible.
Over.
They're
Hammer
terrible. All right, let's bring it back to the state. UCF. What's the expectation for UCF first year Big 12? What's UCF's over under at Caesars?
9.5.
7. They suck.
Oh,
Bad
really?
coach. Forget about it. 7. Get you some, UCF. Poor Georgia Tech. What do you think?
2.5.
4.5.
What?
They're bullish on Tech.
Who is there? I mean, they played Georgia at a conference. Are the other 3 4-person teams?
Remember we did this once before? I can't remember what it was. We did. Was that the year that BC was playing UMass and they were both so terrible?
That wasn't that long ago. That was, I think, 2 seasons ago.
That was a fun one to do.
So Georgia Tech plays Georgia. And
are we doing W's and L's for Georgia Tech?
We could.
Go ahead. Come on, pull it up. Pull it up.
1 moment.
Last segment. Let's do it. Georgia Tech W's and L's.
L's. Wins. All right. How you doing?
Losses.
Damn it! We lost. We fucking super lost, man.
Where do we triumph? Where doth thou fall? Season tickets on sale right now for your Yellow Jackets, Georgia Tech, Mercedes-Benz Stadium, Friday, September the 1st, Louisville, Georgia Tech. Home game, basically, for Georgia Tech at Mercedes-Benz, and it's a loss. 0-1. Damn it, man. Okay, let's buckle up here. Week 2, South Carolina State, Bobby Dodd Stadium. Oh, the creature comforts. Win.
Man, it's tied in the 4th quarter.
1-1.
But it's a win. Fine.
September the 16th on the road in the Grove, Oxford, Mississippi, 7:30 prime time, baby. Ole Miss. Loss.
Send the freshman team. Don't even bother.
Loss 1-2. On to Winston-Salem, Snuggy Hill, September the 23rd at Wake. Loss. 1-3. All right, let's come on back home to Bobby Dodd, baby. Let's go. Let's whip up the ponies. Georgia Tech, Bowling Green. That's a win.
It's another close one. I don't
2 and 3
I
for
don't
the
like
Yellow
how
Jackets.
overconfident you are, but I'll give them a win.
That's a win. 2 and 3 on the road at the Canes Miami Gardens. Close game. Miami pulls it out. 2 and 4. Louse is right. Back at the Bobby Dodd, baby, in Atlanta. We got Boston College. That's a win. That's a third win for the Yellow Jackets. Here we go.
Screeching Eagles come down.
GT gets it done. 3 and 4.
And for Boston College.
Okay, well, I've got them 3 and 4 right now. You get them 2 and 5, right?
Yeah, 2 wins.
All right, Tom, time for your annual I Hate Mac Brown. Georgia Tech hosting North Carolina. The Tar Heels on the road to Bobby Dodd.
Nah, not even Mac Brown could pull off this kind of a disappointment. So it's a loss.
I agree. So they're 3 and 5. You got them 2 and 6. It's at Virginia. Here comes Virginia. It's in Charlottesville. The blinding beauty.
They will be blinded by the beauty.
That's a coin flip game, baby.
The loss.
It's a loss. It's a loss. All right. At Clemson loss. Georgia Tech, Syracuse in Atlanta late in the year. It's all on the line. Got to have it. That's a win for Georgia Tech. Big win,
that
baby.
Gets them to 4, right?
That's a big win right there.
What was the total? 4.5?
I think it's 4.5. And their last game's against Georgia. That's a 100-point loss.
Let's play the under right now.
Little W's and L's, Georgia Tech style. Hour number 2, forthcoming. Stay with.
Whidden Glass has been taking care of business since 1945. When you call Whidden Glass, you're dealing with experienced, reliable professionals who offer only the best. Like Whidden's top-of-the-line bath enclosures that provide style and luxury at an affordable price. Eye-catching storefronts are a specialty at Whidden Glass. We'll help you design it and install it. Whidden Glass, the first name in glass replacement. Call 222-5781.
When you need a plumber quick, how long is an acceptable time to have to wait?
Yeah, hey, it's the Millers again. I'm just calling you about our little plumbing problem.
2 hours?
Hey, we're hoping you can get here soon because the water is getting really bad. I mean, please hurry.
4 hours?
I know you said you were on your way, but, honey, tell the kids to tread water.
8 hours?
Don't worry about us. We're fine.
At M&L Plumbing, you'll never have to wait long for quality, dependable service, right when you need it. At M&L Plumbing, we listen to our customers, and our qualified technicians aim to achieve 100% customer satisfaction. So the next time you need plumbing work or repairs, think of the name M&L Plumbing, your local plumbing experts, commercial or residential. Give us a call, 850-575-9393, or visit us online at mndlplumbing.com. M&L Plumbing, for all of your plumbing needs.
When I get home from work, I'm ready to relax. So I call Swain Pools and Spas to put my pool in the back. I call Swain Pools and Spas. Now I'm soaking up the fun when I want to.
Swain Pools and Spas is your pool and spa everything store. Swain sells them, Swain repairs them, Swain renovates them, Swain services them. Swain even has pool and spa supplies. And they'll test your water too. Nobody, and I mean nobody, knows more about pools and spas than Swain. Almost 40 years of quality, reliability, and service. Look for the big Swain sign on Tharp Street. Call them at 386-7113 or online at swainpools.com.
Call Swain Pools and Spas. You'll be soaking up the fun when you want to. Swain Pools and Spas.
There's fun to be had every night at the Corner Pocket. Take-home prizes on Trivia Tuesdays and Beer Bingo Thursdays. And kickstart your weekend with Martini Fridays. Plus, happy hour runs every weekday and game day specials every time the Noles take the field. Watch all the best games at the Corner Pocket's Vegas Wall, featuring 560 inches of flat-screen TV heaven.
Oh, really?
The best food, the best drinks, and the best place to watch all the games. Tallahassee loves the Corner Pocket.
Coming up next, more of the Jeff Cameron Show. Live and local on Real Talk 93.3. WVFT, Gretna, Tallahassee.
This is Brett Musburger's Action Update. The best way to start betting smarter is to sign up for a free VSIN subscription at vsin.com/subscribe. That's vsin.com/subscribe.
Major League Baseball, the Tampa Bay Rays defeated the Atlanta Braves on Sunday at Tropicana Field 10-4. Atlanta still took 2 of 3 in that series, and now both teams head to the All-Star break. The All-Star game will be held on Tuesday night in Seattle. The National League plus a run and a half, minus 205 on the run line. The American League minus a run and a half, plus 168. On the money line, NL plus 104. The AL minus 122. The over-under is at 7.5, over minus 105, the under minus 115. With your VSIN action update, I'm Tony Desiri on Tallahassee's Real Talk station, Real Talk 93.3.
A cup of Joe, Java, brew, go-go beans, brain water, liquid lightning, wakey juice, whatever you call your cup of coffee, you're missing out if it's not Grassroots Coffee. At grassrootscoffee.com, you'll find an easy way to order the best roasted coffee beans available. It's very simple. Choose the blend you want and how you want it ground, and the bag you receive will have the date your beans were roasted and packaged on it, all written by hand and signed by the roast master himself. You'll know that's as fresh as it gets. You can get Grassroots outside of your house also at some of your favorite restaurants in town. Next time you're out to eat, try asking for Grassroots Coffee by name, because there's a good chance they will have it for you. And if you own a business, Grassroots Coffee has options to stock your break rooms with all the productivity powder your team needs. Plus, like some other options that you'll find at work, Grassroots Coffee actually is a part of our community. Get to grassrootscoffee.com today and get yourself a treat. Some locally owned, locally roasted, and locally loved Grassroots Coffee.
Someone who thought texting was a better idea than stopping for a traffic light slams into your rear bumper. Now your back is injured and you've got to be at work and rehab all without a car. I'm Dana Brooks of Basic Brooks Law Offices, and we hear stories like this every day. You shouldn't pay for someone else's mistake. Call us at 850-777-7777 and we'll make sure you come back stronger.
We all want more energy, more strength, more results. Well, welcome to Orange Theory Fitness as you take a step towards feeling more alive today. Backed by science, Orange Theory's heart rate monitored workout is scientifically designed to keep heart rates in a target zone, spiking metabolism and increasing energy. Orange Theory Fitness is a one-of-a-kind group personal training workout resulting in more energy, visible toning, and extra calorie burn for up to 36 hours. Experience a more vibrant life today with Orange Theory Fitness. To find out more, go to orangetheoryfitness.com.
I'll never forget
that moment.
As long as I live.
My first call up ever as a member of the National Guard.
When we got to the armory, they briefed us on the wildfires. They were getting dangerously close to homes.
Helicopters were going out to drop water on the fires. Guys in the unit were preparing for firefighting with local fire crews.
At that moment, I got my first taste of just how important the Guard is to my community.
See how the Guard can be an important part of your life at NationalGuard.com.
Sponsored by the Florida National Guard. Aired by the Florida Association of Broadcasters and this station.
As a truck driver, I've learned how important road safety is. I know that large trucks need more time and room to stop. That's why I always hang back and follow other vehicles at a safe distance. Everyone can help keep our roads safe. So next time you're driving, try to remember to always give trucks extra space when you merge in front of them. Let's all plan to share the road safely. Learn how at sharetheroadsafely.gov.
Broadcasting live from Florida's capital city, this is the Jeff Cameron Show, brought to you by Orange Theory Fitness on Real Talk 93.3. Now, stop what you're doing and listen closely. It's time for the Jeff Cameron Show in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
college football. As we noted to start the show, 55 Marvin Jones days away from playing football for FSU, and not long now before we're headed on down the road or up the road to Charlotte, I should say. Tom and myself will hop in the vehicle, as that guy just got done saying.
As a truck driver.
Okay. He's that's who he is. It's ridiculous. He's a mess.
Mr. Mackey?
Yeah. It's a slower sort of, yeah. That's why it sounds like it's a spoof commercial. I don't believe it every time I see it. I'm like, I hear it. I'm like, come on.
It's my new favorite.
It's awesome. That said, anyhow, we'll be in the vehicle having a good time, ready to go, and talking, all things Florida State on the field, real stuff. No more speculation, although that's fun too. Speculative is good. Tom, the path, by the way, we didn't get to finish the way I wanted to. South Carolina State win, Bowling Green win. How do you get to over? BC win. It's in Bobby Dodd. Don't you shake your head at me. It's in Bobby Dodd. 3. Then Syracuse in Virginia. That's 5. That's how you get there. So the biggie, if you're scoring at home, is that roadie at Virginia. That's the one where you got to buckle in.
As a truck driver, I love Virginia.
That's the toughie. I'm going to spend way too long tonight doing this. UConn's at 4.5. Remember when you could get them like at a half?
UConn's at 4. That's not basketball in November?
No. Houston's at 5. Pitt Panthers. What's Vegas think about Pitt?
7.5.
7.
Yeah.
7. Arkansas is also 7.
Woo! Been a minute.
Oh, my goodness gracious. We do this every year, you and I. Army.
Ooh. Isn't this a down year for Army?
It's the same year every year. It's just on repeat over
sometimes
and over and over
11,
again.
and sometimes they're 6-6. 3.5.
6. Must be an up year for Army. It must be an up year.
All
Just
right.
read a long article, by the way, and I don't like it. I don't like it. I want you to know that now. Army's coach wants to get them away from running option. No. By law, you have to run the option. That's right.
Get
You're
him
out
out of here.
You're out. You got to go. That's not what we do around here.
What are you trying to run?
Some pro-style offense, some nonsense pro-style offense. See what that's done for Nebraska. They wish they were running that triple option back in the day, dominating folks. I did love that. I loved when you had an offense that was truly unique. Like it could have been the air raid, which was nonsense, or it could be the triple option, which is what it is. But I always liked that was unique to college football, that there were these offenses that nobody was really running in the NFL because you couldn't get away with it. But you could do it in college, and if you did it really, really well, it was yours, and it was hard to stop. It's hard to deal with.
However, now in the pros, there is more variety.
Oh, there are elements of all these offenses now. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I remember back in the day they called it, you had the air raid, you had the running gun, you had all these different offenses.
So that's Army's new coach because Monken is done, right? Didn't he leave?
Yeah, it's gonna be all these damn Army questions, Tom, on a Monday. I don't know. I didn't pay attention.
Army up. I'm sorry.
I give you the win total. I don't know. I don't know who's coaching them.
Reminder: don't.
I'm not breaking down Army in the offseason. I'll lock in when the time's right before I make my bet on Army. I mean, I'll go. I think you may be right. Tell us the answer since you brought it up. I do want to know.
Now he's back.
See?
Then why does he want to change?
Because they're not doing what he wants them to do. He feels like
Matalolo left. That's what. Yeah, over at Navy.
Oh, Navy. Okay,
yeah, he was done.
Yes. All right, that's what it was. Yeah. What was the reason for that? Wasn't there something weird with
performance? I think they were slipping.
Oh my goodness gracious! News locally here in Tallahassee involving Florida State. It's not a big deal, I don't think, but after what was an awful season, our own Ira Shafel writes for Warchant.com that they got some bad news. Sophomore point guard Chandler Jackson, who was expected to compete for a starting job this year, was a backup as a freshman last year. He's been suspended from the team. And here's the quote. Florida State head coach Leonard Hamilton announced Sunday night that rising sophomore Chandler Jackson has been suspended indefinitely from the Seminole basketball team. 6'5", 215 from Memphis. The program feels like it's stagnant.
got some issues.
He missed 8 weeks due to injury, so I don't even know what he was going to be. He did play in 29 games. He started a game, but he had a hand injury, and you never could really tell what he was going to be. So I don't know. I don't know if that's a big deal or not. It feels like it might be.
It's a big deal in that it was an FSU release. They don't usually comment on these things. So that Coach Ham gives the green light to comment on an indefinite suspension, says that has to be something pretty bad.
It may be it doesn't do us any good to speculate.
Sure, but you know how it usually goes.
Yeah.
They have the whole team. You go through the preseason interviews. Everybody's great. And then somebody's in street clothes for the first 3 games of the season. You're like, well, where the hell did that come from? And coach will say, I'm not going to comment on, internal matters. But this is a press release in the dead of summer. That's something different.
The other bit of bad news was that, did you see Baumeister where he got selected?
Early enough.
Yeah. He was selected 63rd by the Orioles, and if you look at that slot value, that's over $1.2 million. Damn it, man. I didn't think that was going to happen. I was thinking he's going to be part of the solution. All right.
It's going to be part of the roster clearing.
Yeah, he's 21 years old, so he's eligible, and that's how that goes, and he got picked, and that's a lot of money.
He threw a good game on the road at TCU, and how we thought the program was in much better hands at that point. That was the second week of the season. We took 2 or 3 from TCU on the road, and you thought, man, could they be turning it around quicker? And then from there, just about nothing went right.
The stuff plays really well, and I think if he's in the right situation, I think Florida State would have been good, certainly, to have him back, but that certainly stinks. So we'll see what happens. But 2 notes specific to Florida State: 1 basketball, not good; 1 baseball. You're happy for the kid. He was a bit of a bright spot, but it doesn't look like we'll have him now. So it will be interesting to see what Florida State looks like when they do take the field. I had a conversation the other day. Eric Llewellyn, play-by-play announcer for Florida State, came up and saw Chip Baker, and we were talking baseball, and they love the roster changes that are happening. And he was saying that Baumeister was kind of like a coin flip at that moment. We were talking about it, but he likes what they're efforting to do. They'll be a much better team next year, just a question of how much better. And we're not where we want to be, and we're probably not going to be close to where we want to be, because where we want to be is back in Omaha. But we saw the difference between the teams out there and the teams here. Although that said, we went on the road and took 2 of 3 from TCU, could have won that 3rd game if not for an error, and that team went to the College World Series. So it can turn very quickly.
It can. Baseball can do that, but you would like to think the sustainability is possible in the near term. And that's where I am in total agreement with you when you get nervous about conference realignment, how it pertains to conference TV revenue, payout, funding, all these kinds of things. Baseball and basketball are squarely in the crosshairs. They really are, for a long period of time. You might be able to patch together something over the next 5 years for those 2 programs. You certainly will be able to for football, but the sooner we can get to a better financial situation, the sooner that these programs, we can boast about them the way that LSU is.
Yes.
Yeah, they're thrilled about our game in Orlando. They can't wait to play that game against us in Orlando. But you know what else they're doing? Still celebrating a College World Series.
That is where we talk about the money disparity all the time, where we've seen credible evidence. I mean, when you have 5 national champions from the same conference in 5 consecutive years, and they're all different, well, yeah. I mean, there's little doubt where baseball's excellence resides.
And that's where basketball is going. It's already kind of there, but that's
starting
where it's going.
Yes.
Yeah.
Frustrating. This is our concern, dude. This is going to be the thing that we're most interested in hearing. And I can't describe him the way that I would if you and I were just sitting here having a conversation. The commissioner of the ACC will be very interesting to hear the confidence or lack thereof in his voice as he addresses us all in a couple of weeks.
What has changed from year to year, though?
Nothing has changed at this point. He's screwed.
He's in the same exact position. Yeah.
He couldn't fake confidence a year ago when he needed to, when he desperately needed to, and that was the first chance he had to, and he failed that one miserably, and then pled to our staunchest enemy for mercy, of which there was evidence that none is coming, as they purged and ruined the Big 12.
Correct. And went first name basis with ESPN executives to kind of kowtow towards them and hope that maybe they'll throws a couple extra
So
bucks.
that was the approach a year ago. My question would be, what's the approach this time? Can't be that. Not that it makes much of a difference, but if you want any inkling whatsoever that radical changes that are going to benefit teams in the ACC is on the horizon, you would have to hear it in 2 weeks when we go to Charlotte. We're very close to doing it. It's not this next week, but the week after, we're there, and we will find out. That's the only thing I care to hear him talk about. I mean, there's nothing else to say. Don't celebrate lacrosse or water polo. Don't talk about winning long-distance track events. Don't talk about nonsense like that. Just what is going to happen, if anything, to keep this thing from being devastatingly off course.
Well, then you should join the ballroom 15 minutes after the scheduled start of the talk, because the first 15 minutes is going to be about all of the sports that the ACC does regularly compete and win in.
Well, that is about to be the least attended annual event on the docket moving forward of any of the big time events that the collective media gets together at. If that continues, so let's say this, there's nothing new, there's nothing of any kind of information that would deem to be positive. What are you gonna do? I mean, imagine. So we'll just stop going. I would just be like, we're not going next year, Gene. What's the point?
Well, they'll make it 4 days instead. What we can do is increase the amount of time for the kickoff, because now it's 3 days for the first time ever.
Yeah, it's fun. I love running into people that we've known for many years, covering a lot of the programs around the conference. There was a time, was that 2015 when the ACC was really strong? Was that the 2015 year?
2015 kickoff, the 2014 season, they were strong.
They were really good.
Yeah, that's it.
That
New Year's
was
6.
yeah.
Clemson beats Oklahoma with the backup quarterback.
Oh, like a drum.
Georgia Tech took out Mississippi State.
That's
in the
right.
Orange Bowl.
Big time bowl game. We were out in California for that game.
California, 29 straight.
That's right.
Yeah,
we had won 29. Yeah, it was all there. And at that time, like the mid-level teams were good, where you were looking around going, you know what? This team's good. Virginia Tech's not bad. Maybe it was the last year that they were good.
Yeah.
But yeah, there were all these moments where you thought, oh, okay.
Yeah, Tech took us down to the wire in the ACC championship
Which made
game.
0 sense.
But they were legitimately a good team. Yeah, I'm not talking about the 12 game. I'm talking about the 14 game. They were going to beat Mississippi State in a New Year's 6 bowl, but that was actually a pretty good win. Florida State had a lot of games that season where you go, oh my God, that's awful and embarrassing that you win by a score. The nation hates us, so it makes it magically okay.
Mm-hmm.
But that game was tight the whole way. That wasn't, we were awful for a half and we came back. It was just score for score. And then not Bobby Dodd, that's the stadium, but Paul Johnson fell off the map after that.
He was done. Yeah. He was at his wit's end. He was about to argue with Ira about stuff. He was about
His next conference win was over us in 2015.
And that hell of an effort to make a tackle there. But we didn't even mind, you and I, as we watched that game from the Corner Pocket Bar and Grill on the deck and laughed. And I was like, take it to the house. Go score on the block kick.
You did?
I wanted him to score. I was like, we deserve this. This is awesome. Score.
I don't remember that.
Oh, yeah. I was yelling at him. Score. We should. This is ridiculous. This is what happens. I was yelling, this is what happens. I could have said the second part, but that's exactly what happens. Half-stepping. Ridiculous game.
Got your crowbar? This is what happens, Jimbo.
Look outside.
Do you see what happens, Jimbo?
It's the Jeff Cameron Show, 93.3 Real Talk Radio, Warchant TV.
Clean, renewable energy means fresher air, healthier residents, new green jobs, and a stronger, more resilient community. How we get there is up to you. Share your input today to help shape the Tallahassee of tomorrow. Take the Clean Energy Survey at taogov.com.
For about 50 years, Paul's Termite and Pest Control has been protecting homes and businesses for thousands of people right here in the Big Bend. And we're quite proud of that. Fact is, all of us here at Paul's have families, and nothing is more important to us than their protection. By providing effective termite and pest treatments, we know we're aiding many right here in our community.
Paul's Termite and Pest Control performs many services designed for the protection of your family and your home. Programs like Pro Shield Complete, which encompasses termite and general pest control in one low-cost quarterly treatment plan. This program is environmentally friendly friendly and is almost exclusively limited to exterior treatments, meaning pests and termites never enter your home. Termite programs like Centricon, a service which requires no invasive drilling or liquid applications. Plus, our lawn care team keeps lawns and ornamentals green and healthy.
Protection of your family, your home, and our environment all are very important to each of us at Paul's. To learn more about our many programs, please visit us at callpauls.com.
For the elimination of termites or any other pests.
And the greener lawn, too.
Call Paul's. We'll get them all.
If you've been considering getting a new hot tub or upgrading your existing hot tub, now's the absolute best time to do it. Hot Spring Spas has the jets on full blast, and the prices right now have never been hotter. You can find huge savings at Pinch a Penny Pools and Spas, and we mean huge. For a limited time, you can get up to $5,000 off in instant discounts and rebates, plus 60 months no interest financing for qualified buyers. You heard that right, $5,000 in discounts. And that's not all. When you buy a hot spring spa from Pinch a Penny Pools and Spas, you'll get a free consultation to determine the best placement in your yard for installation, a free accessory of your choice, and install can be completed in just a matter of days. It's the most aggressive rebate program that's ever been available to buyers from Hot Spring Spas. So stop by Pinch a Penny Pools and Spas on Greer Road today to check out their 12,000 square foot showroom with over 50 hot tubs on site. If you're ready to relax, Pinch a Penny Pools and Spas is ready to show you how.
Honey, I just got a text from Dave. He wants us to come over for a barbecue. What's our excuse for not going?
Oh, no need for an excuse anymore because Dave got a new grill from Hearth and Patio.
Oh, thank goodness. Dave, we will be happy to join y'all this weekend, and congrats on the new grill from Hearth and Patio. My wife said she would bring potato salad.
Hearth and Patio invites you to elevate your grilling game this year with one of their amazing grills from Fire Magic, Broil Master, or Blaze Grills. Call them today, 850-727-4282. That's 850-727-4282, or visit them online at hearthpatiotallahassee.com. Hearth and Patio, making barbecues great in the Sunshine State.
Honey, Dave said no raisins in the potato salad this time.
Call them today, 850-727-4282. That's 850-727-4282, or visit them online at hearthpatiotallahassee.com.
Zaxby's new chicken bacon. Ranch chicken ranch. Ranch bacon. Chicken bacon ranch bacon. Loaded fries. Sorry, Chase. You're important too. Woo, saucy. Zaxby's.
We all want more energy, more strength, more results. Well, welcome to Orange Theory Fitness as you take a step towards feeling more alive today. Backed by science, Orange Theory's heart rate monitored workout is scientifically designed to keep heart rates in a target zone, spiking metabolism and increasing energy. Orange Theory Fitness is a one-of-a-kind group personal training workout resulting in more energy, visible toning, and extra calorie burn for up to 36 hours. Experience a more vibrant life today with Orange Theory Fitness. To find out more, go to orangetheoryfitness.com.
Welcome back to the Jeff Cameron Show, sponsored by Legendary Home Loans, a mortgage experience designed around speed, simplicity, and customer service. Before you buy your next home, contact our friend Shannon Young with Legendary Home Loans. Visit FSUHomeLoans.com. FSUHomeLoans.com.
Aslan and Ira, that's what we got. Okay, tonight the Smash, Aslan and Ira Chappelle. Ira to join us in about 6 minutes. On the note of Florida State relevant information, I mentioned a moment ago two things that were pretty negative. Here's a good one. And this is something to go on and on about, but we kind of guessed it was going to happen, and it has. And that is that Luke Kromenhoek continues to just move on up these boards. He's the number three ranked quarterback overall in the 2024 rankings for On3 now. Every time he gets a chance to show his wares, he impresses. So the thing you like about having a kid like that at the most visible position is that he's also a very active recruiter for you. We've talked about that quite a bit too. So Good news that his star rises, and as it does, his profile gets bigger to other recruits, and he's not bashful about asking said recruits to come play at Florida State. So all the momentum that you want in recruiting with some of those yeses and more to come. Last week when we had Michael Langston on, he mentioned that he thought around the 15th there'd be a big weekend for Florida State in terms of kids committing. And then maybe at the end of the month, I think that's when Lester is going to announce late July.
Yeah, 28th.
So you got a 5-star kid announcing there. Seems like Florida State is going to hit on 3 to 4, maybe 5 more kids that will help change their class ranking. I don't lose sleep over class rankings unless we're sitting in the 40s or something right now, and we're not. But for those that do concern themselves with it on a daily basis, that news is going to continue to get better.
Well, and it did for Jonathan Daniels as well, the offensive tackle prospect, who, again, each industry, each outlet in the industry has their own say. But for On3, Daniels climbed 70 spots from 117 to 47.
Well, there's a dearth of linemen in this year's class, that a quality lineman anyhow. So when you find one, they're going to go way up the list pretty quickly.
Yeah. So now a very strong 4-star, top 10 tackle in all the country, top 10 player in the state of Florida. That's a great development because, again, you want your reputation in the trenches to be that of badasses. And Florida State on the offensive line is getting better and better. The transfer portal helped facilitate that. Had a really good offensive line recruiting class 2 years ago. Last year's was headlined by Lucas Simmons. We like the Andreato kid as well. But now you want to have another year where you can fortify the ranks. And if it's not this 2024 class, it has to be the next one. But Alex Atkins' reputation is continuing to be as a trendsetter and a trailblazer when it comes to the recruiting rankings, because Jonathan Daniels, when we were on him initially, good prospect, but not great. Now trending way up. And I think Florida State offers have a lot to do with that these days, which is completely different than it used to be.
Different than it used to be, and exciting to see that they continue to do a good job in evaluation there. By the way, that top 40 list whittled down to the final 5. You've seen number 5, you've seen number 4. Now number 3 is in the books, and number 2, Jared Verse, is coming in at number 2 on our top 40, Warchant top 40 list. That video is up. That story is up. Corey and I talked about Johnny Wilson at number 3 and what he is. You and I have had conversations about this list and how much more fun it was putting it together this year than in years past, partly because of superstars like Jared Verse, who, well, we're talking about growing reputations. Well, I mean, when you're projected in some preseason draft, projections as a number 5 or number 4 or number 3 pick, okay.
Yeah, and it was easy for the staff. Consensus number 1 and number 2 on the team. We've had a consensus top player most years in the Warchant top 40, but
there's usually one.
Now 1 and 2 are across the board. We all know who they are. Jared Verse, I think, from last year to this year has done a very good job of getting more dense, NFL ready. It looks like the work that he's done with Coach Storms and in the weight room, he was already an athlete that just is cut a little bit differently. We understand that. But you got to have a little bit extra, that 1% on top of the 1% in order to be an NFL lottery pick or to be a top 10 pick, or if he could, in fact, become the number 1 edge rusher off the board in the NFL draft next year. But he looks the part now that, it's not just about speed, it's also about power, and power at a very high Power 5 level. So that's the thing that I think is changing and developing for him this year.
The oddity of Jared Verse to me, and it's been this way since he arrived, when he was at Albany, he was projected as the number 1 or 2 transfer portal player, right? That he was that guy that everybody wanted. And when we beat out Miami and so many other teams, Tennessee, that's right, for his services, you thought, okay, good. They got a kid that is really well thought of, that is skyrocketing up the board, but did play at Albany. We saw him against Syracuse, by the way, and we saw how well he played in that game, and that got everybody's attention. But he looked undersized to me at the time. I thought, okay, well, for big-time college football, he's going to have to get bigger. I didn't know how strong he was. We needed to see that in person. We got a pretty good idea early on that punch was different. He had the ability to blow past you, but he could get into your body and move you, even though I thought he was somewhat slight for a guy projected to go in the first round, right? And it's all relative. I mean, he was a plus player right from the get-go, but I just was talking about that elite level that we're referring to now. And then he got hurt against Louisville, and that's an early season game. And he had to kind of work around that injury the entirety of the season. And you could see it more in some games than others. Sometimes, I don't know if that's Toradol or whatever it was, he was shot up properly and feeling pretty good, and he could get out the gates and play really well for you. Other times, he looked like he was just doing enough to help you, but he wasn't a game-changing player. Now, think about that. Think about how many games he played hurt last year, and he still ended up with 9 sacks. He still had 17 tackles for loss. That's a lot of tackles for loss. So, we remember the game-ending sack against Oklahoma. We remember all the things that he did in the biggest moments, but he was doing all this in which he was having to kind of reserve what he had in the tank to protect the knee.
Well, there's a couple of circumstances. One was Wake Forest, where he could only play on a pitch count because of health. But then you think about all of the other games that were outright blowouts. And so you get so many fewer cracks at racking up double-digit sacks, 20-plus tackles for loss because of your injury, but then also because the second and third team defense is out there for a whole lot of football the last month and a half of the season. And still you rack up that kind of production. That's what could be scary about this year if he remains healthy. Also, the fact that the defensive line is more talented across the board. So while you're going to get a ton of attention, you'll still get less net attention than you would last year because you're not the only star that they have up front.
And something we haven't mentioned a lot about because we get caught up in that size and how much stronger he's gotten and how much he was able to produce despite being hurt. Let's assume he's healthy all season this year. Let's assume he puts on, because he's a workout monster, another 5 to 10 pounds. So that's going to put Jared Verse in the 260, 265 range. He's 6'4", a little over 6'4". He's got that explosiveness. If he's healthy for the entirety of this season, you could see why it is the NFL is coveting this guy as a top 10 pick. So it was an easy one to come in the top 2. He was number 2 on our top 40 list. Ira Shafel, Warchant.com, joins us right now, as he's wont to do on a Monday. Hello, Ira. How are you, brother?
I'm great, Jeff. How you doing?
Good, man. I just got excited talking about Jared Verse.
I can understand that, dude. I actually was listening to a little bit of the first hour, and you guys got me excited. So it's that time of year, I guess.
It is that time of year, and it's been one that has kind of whisked through, and now that we're on the precipice of doing some fun things, you and I are going to do some fun things together. In fact, I can't announce that today, but we're figuring out a way to talk about it this week. And then, of course, the following week as a staff, we all go to Charlotte, and we're all excited about that as well. And then we come back, and basically it's go time, it's camp time, and we have that first press conference with Mike Norvell and that luncheon. What are you most excited to hear about? And I have a specific question as it relates to something that everybody wants to know, and maybe you have some inside information on the process. You're always great about this. When we talk about a player that's waiting on a waiver, like Daryl Jackson, what does FSU do week to week? Is there anything where they get told how far out it is that the NCAA is deciding? Is he on a ledger? Is he case 7 and they're on case 2? Like, what is the process on a week-to-week, month-to-month basis of finding out when we're going to know about Daryl Jackson?
Yeah, that's actually a process story would be smart. That's something we should look at trying to do. But yeah, I mean, every case is a little bit different, but in general, there's like 2 different parts of it. One is the staff side, in terms of the ACC and the NCAA staff will be doing their due diligence, communicating with the school that they transferred from, communicating the school that they're transferring to, gathering all the information that they've got from each side, comparing the notes, and then asking for documentation. So the staff at Florida State will have to provide documentation. They'll ask for documentation from the Miami side. In Daryl Jackson's case, they'll provide documentation. So you've got that kind of exchanging of information, kind of like I think you'd say maybe in a legal matter, where you've got both sides kind of sending their stuff to the other side. And then ultimately, these decisions get made by, bureaucrats basically at the NCAA or the ACC sometimes, but also the NCAA. And then those people aren't, they don't have like it's not like they're just sitting there only doing this matter. So they'll meet occasionally at certain times throughout the summer or throughout the year to handle whatever cases are there. And then sometimes they may give a ruling and then it gets sent back, and then it gets appealed, and then it gets kicked back again. Sometimes appeals aren't necessarily a bad thing. It's just a process they have to go through. There have been kids in the past that had to get, for example, Dimitri Emanuel. I think you guys talked about it was out there that it had been denied and had to be appealed, but that was a formality. That's just how the process works. So even though you get denied, sometimes that's just part of the process. So every case is a little bit different, but yeah, it becomes lengthy because you're part of it is just the nature of going back and forth between several parties. And then part of it is a lot of times the people that make the decisions, committees that make decisions, this isn't what they do all the time. So you have to wait till they can kind of meet.
Does FSU get a heads up on when it is they reconvene so they can have some idea of, okay, the next time we may hear something is July the 19th or August the 7th? Like, do they, what I'm wondering is, it doesn't seem like it should be anyhow. It ought not be willy-nilly. It ought to be, hey, his case didn't come up this month. We had these other things we're doing. He is scheduled to come up on the 12th, and we'll let you know what was ruled or whether it was appealed or whatever it is. Do they get any clue whatsoever, or does it feel like it's completely random? Like, hey, maybe it happens next week, or maybe it happens right in the middle of the season and you're screwed.
No, I think generally they're kept pretty abreast, but it's a small group of people. It's the compliance staff. It may be a couple of high-level administrators. It might be the head coach. But a lot of times it doesn't go beyond that because you don't really want a lot of people talking about it or knowing about it, because if it gets denied, then you have to appeal it again. And it's just now you've got a lot of people talking about it and asking questions to the player and maybe talking to the media about it. So usually the circle's pretty tight. But, yeah, there are people who know. It's just not a lot of them. And a lot of the times they don't want to talk about it because they don't want to put things out there before they have a final decision.
Well, it's a big deal. And I'd really like it to be resolved. Hey, what can you tell us? I know you wrote the piece for Warchant on Chandler Jackson. I know there's probably precious little you can tell us, but he's been suspended, and this is not the standard modus operandi for Florida State basketball. Everything seems to stay under that umbrella. It's carefully guarded secret. When kids do get suspended, it stays within the program. Hamilton has always done a good job with that. Yet this is very public. That struck me as interesting and not so good.
Yeah, it is. I mean, it's one of two things. And one of them, like you said, is it's not so good. It's so serious that, that's very concerning. There's another option, though. I was over there talking to the basketball staff the other day, and they were actually, I was talking to Stan Jones, and he was talking very positively about Chandler Jackson and how well he's done this offseason and how much better he's gotten. So, it seemed to me as of 4 or 5 days ago, things were trending in the right direction. The other possibility is, there's no secret that team was dysfunctional last year.
Yep.
And that team did not defend. They didn't play hard for each other. There was a lack of accountability on the court, probably off the court. So if you're trying, I did get the impression when I was doing some of those conversations that they are trying to get back to what Florida State used to be in terms of really hard-nosed defensively, really tight-knit, really doing the right things, accountability, and all those types of things. And if that's the case, it could be a situation where Leonard Hamilton's laying down the law and saying, look, I'm not going to cover for you. I'm putting this out there and trying to kind of lay the law for the rest of the group. So that's an option. I don't know which one it is. I would say it doesn't, there is a theory where it's not something, because I've had a few people ask me who assume it's really serious because, the one thing that's always kind of misunderstood, and I try to write it to explain it a little bit, people, when they see suspended indefinitely, people always assume that means, oh, it's the end of the world. All that means is they just don't know how long he's going to be suspended for. Sometimes that's 2 weeks. Sometimes that's 6 months. Sometimes it means you're going to be kicked off the team. But indefinitely only means they just don't know yet. So I would caution people before they get too carried away.
$1,200,000+. It would seem likely to go to Jackson Baumeister based on slot. He's gone. What you'd assume, by the way?
I would assume so. I mean, man, congratulations to him. I mean, could you imagine being on this team, being 5-5 with a over 5 ERA, and you get picked in the second round of the draft? I mean, that speaks to his upside.
Well, I'm going to curse your Baltimore Orioles for screwing us.
Hey, I'm excited for young Jackson.
Yes, you are. Well, you can have Baumeister. We got Skeens, buddy. There you go. I thought it was a formality, but it'd be funny to ask you about whether or not he turned down over $1 million to come back and play at Florida State next year.
Hey, he does have one more year of leverage. He is only a sophomore, but that would be an all-time betting on yourself, I think, if you decided to pass it up.
Yeah. I would think so too. And then Kromenhoek moves to the number 3 ranked quarterback in the country according to On3. That's a nice note. Specifically, and I was just talking about this before you came on, because that kid's an active recruiter, and now he has an even higher profile to do it.
It's awesome. And again, he's one of those where the returns just get better and better. Like everything he goes to, he handles himself really well. He's a smart kid. He wants to recruit. He's got a big personality. And now, like, the national rankings are coming. And so now, man, he's ranked against guys that, like, some of the best quarterbacks in the country. I mean, he's the number 3 quarterback in the country. I mean, think about that. It's, think about just 3 or 4 years ago, there was a former head coach here who wouldn't sign a high school quarterback.
Couldn't get him
for a couple of years.
Mm-hmm.
Couldn't get a high school quarterback. And then, obviously, Norvell's, looking under rocks. I mean, he gets some guys, but it was a tough go. So it's, man, I really feel like they hit the lottery with Luke Kromenhoek.
That's going to be a really fascinating competition. Like, you think about Kromenhoek coming in the next year, and then you have a kid in Brock Glenn they really like. They like Brock Glenn, and we all were so excited by what we saw there. The guy that gets lost in the shuffle is A.J. Duffy, and one is going to presume that he's the odd man out, but we don't know that for certain. And then, of course, everybody's wondering whether or not Tate Rodemaker will win the job after Jordan Travis leaves this year. The quarterback room is a lot better and a lot more interesting than it used to be.
No question. And I think the thing with AJ is, look, man, I mean, he has decided to stay at least this year, which is a good sign, because it makes you feel like he doesn't feel like he's out in the cold. He doesn't feel like he's been passed yet, and he feels like he's going to be a competitor in that contest for next year. Because a lot of guys, man, look at around the country. A lot of people thought Luke would have left, or excuse me, that Tate would have left after last year. I never thought Tate would leave, mostly because I know who he is and his family is, and just there's an old school mentality there. I never thought he would leave, but AJ would be the guy you would be concerned about, and he stuck it out, man. So he's obviously confident that he's going to have a chance. And as you said, man, it's going to be a really fun competition.
You should be. Tonight, the Smash, you and Aslan get together. Should be great. As always, 7 o'clock for everybody wanting to tune in, as they should, on Warchant TV. Enjoy a beverage or two and listen to those two fine gentlemen break down Florida State and any number of other things and take your questions as well. Ira, talk to you later, brother. Always a pleasure.
Thanks, Jeff. See you, man.
Yep, take care. Ira Chappelle, warchant.com. Brock Glenn is what? 6'2", 6'3", 6'2"?
Yeah, it's in that neighborhood, 6'2", 6'3".
Yeah, 6'2", somewhere in there. AJ Duffy's 6'2", 6'1", somewhere in there, 6'2", I think. So there's not a distinct disadvantage in terms of pocket presence, 6'4", 6'5", or 6'1", 6'2", something like that. Kromenhoek is what? What's his?
Closer to 6'4", 6'5".
Yeah, he's a big kid.
Yeah, I mean, he's legit 6'4" plus. Yeah.
Well, that's good.
That is an advantage. Yes, I know. There you go.
That's good. Well, he's 6'4", 200 pounds in high school. It's only going to get bigger and stronger. It's going to be interesting. I mean, one of those 3 guys ain't going to be here in a couple of years. That's
correct.
all I'm saying.
It's easy to say right now, though. This is the obvious part. Brock Glenn is a better practicer than A.J. Duffy was at the same point in their career.
Oh, easily. Yeah. He looks also more talented.
That's only half of the battle.
Well,
and maybe it's less than half the battle. It's about what you can do in a game setting. The problem is, I mean, maybe they could all get together in a game setting in Ireland against Georgia Tech next year, and you could continue a battle early into the 2024 season, but you're going to have to show out at practice and in scrimmages. That's what it's going to be about. And in the second half of games this year, that's the advantage that Tate and Duffy and Glenn have over Kromenhoek, who everybody loves. Everybody loves that ability, but you could put game tape out there right here, right now this season. And if you are AJ Duffy or Brock Glenn, what a critical battle it is to see who can be the third quarterback that comes off the sidelines for presumably 5+ blowout situations this year. You would think that they have a chance to get into, if you're Brock Glenn, maybe you keep the shirt.
Yeah.
But he has a chance to get in 4 games this year if he earns those reps.
He does. I think we're going to keep a close eye on this situation. There are lots of situations we're going to keep a close eye on for the reason that we're trying to project what 2024's game in Ireland looks like. Not just, that season in general. I'm not punting the 2024 season the way I've heard so many fans do. Like, everybody feels like it's feast or famine, that you got to win this year because you're not going to win the following year. No. I'm not doing that. Florida State's recruiting much better than they were. They're really, really good and active, and, they've been very successful in the portal.
They'll have to be again, though.
Well, yeah, but they've already got guys. So, for example, guys that they've brought in from the high school ranks that are probably not going to start this year, but would start in 2024 and be of great value to you. Julian Armella. I'll use him as an example. Julian Armella is a plus player in college football in the Power 5 rankings. He's a kid that would be starting anywhere else in the ACC, just about, maybe not Clemson, but everywhere else he'd be starting, okay? He could fight to start here. We'll see. He might. I'm not projecting him to as of right now, but he might. So that kid is your starter all of a sudden. If you do that with the offensive line in general, you're really excited about what you have in that group up front. And we know games are won and lost in the trenches. So you start there. The 2024 offensive line is going to be good. It's going to be good.
Yeah, it should be.
So your running back room, okay, so you're going to lose Trey Benson. There's no getting around that. He's a superstar, and we know that. You're going to lose Lawrence Toafili, right? You're going to lose him. But, man, you're the chief of the Rodney Hill fan club. So Rodney Hill, C.J. Campbell, Keziah Holmes, the kids are bringing in. They've got studs. So now you're loaded at running back. You're going to lose Johnny Wilson. Probably going to lose Keon Coleman after this year. But then Kentron Portier would be a starter. Hakeem Williams will be a starter. All Day Dre will be a starter. This is shaping up very nicely, I might say. That's not bad. That's just a few.
Another year of Marquiston, Kyle
Deuce
Morlock.
Spann getting better. Yeah. Marquiston comes back. Kyle Morlock becomes a star, possibly. Landon Thomas is a 5-star tight end. So now I've just given you a backfield that's good, an offensive line that is good, a tight end group that is good, a receiving group that is good. You just need to have a quarterback not suck.
Yeah, and need to be able to get stops.
Okay, well, now, don't be ruining this. We got a whole thing going here with the offense, and it's going to be good. I'm not punting on 2024, damn you. Jeff Cameron, Show 93.3, Real Talk Radio, Warchant TV.
Your local news now.
One man is dead, and now Tallahassee police are working to figure out who shot him. The man was found in the 3000 block of South Adams Street, just south of the Dr. B.L. Peary Jr. Branch Library. The shooting took place at University Courtyard Apartments. This is an open and active investigation. Detectives ask anyone who may have information regarding the incident to call TPD at 850-891-4200 or to remain anonymous, call Crime Stoppers at 850-574-TIPS. Communities in Sewanee, Hamilton, Gadsden, Lafayette, and Franklin counties will receive funding for broadband infrastructure via Florida's Broadband Infrastructure Program. Fiber optic cables, once laid, will provide download and upload speeds of 1 gigabyte. The governor's office said the latest statewide award will total more than $247 million and connect more than 59,000 unserved and underserved businesses, homes, farms, and anchor institutions like hospitals and libraries to high-speed internet. This is Rachel Anay with your Real Talk 93.3 local news update, brought to you by Macklemore Systems, Tallahassee's go-to Mac store. Check them out online at MaclemoreSystems.com.
This is meteorologist Paul Trombley with your Real Talk 93.3 weather update. Scattered thunderstorms likely this afternoon, otherwise cloudy skies. Daytime highs approaching 87, southwest winds 10 to 15 miles per hour. Partly cloudy skies tonight, chance for scattered storms, lows level off around 74. Scattered thunderstorms again tomorrow. Daytime highs approaching 91, sunshine mixed with clouds at times. This report is brought to you by The Lawn Johns. For all your landscaping and lawn care needs, visit thelawnjohns.com. Right now, 83.
Hey, no fans, our partner ISF Inc. is a national management and IT consulting firm located right here in Tallahassee, Florida, solving the future for state governments through strategy, process, and technology. As a trusted advisor for state governments, ISF knows the importance of defining a clear and detailed strategy. Our friends at ISF can help your organization create a strategy that sets you on a path to success. ISF, your vision plus our expertise brings your brilliant ideas to life. Visit ISF.com to learn more. ISF, solving the future. My man, Eddie.
Jeff, what's happening, dude?
Bears eating people all over the place. I read another article today. It's the third one in the last month of somebody getting mauled to death by a bear.
Man, bears have their own space. Well, you got to let them have that.
You do. You got to stay clear of bears, is what you're saying?
Yes.
I got a question for you. Here you go. If you had to be mauled to death, eaten alive by any animal in the world, which would you choose to eat you alive?
Ooh, I think maybe I'd want, I don't know, longevity time, a mouse.
Just a slow burn.
Slow burn.
This thing just finished the pinky. It's been a month.
I could go to work. I could still do my thing. I could probably live 30 years.
I thought you were going to say great white because it'd be quick, or a grizzly. We went with mouse.
Yeah, mouse.
Okay. Mouse it is. Gordo's, bringing the flavor and flair of Cuban food to Tallahassee since 1996.
The Jeff Cameron Show, brought to you by Orange Theory Fitness. 2 Tallahassee locations, Midtown on Thomasville Road and Northside in the Village Common Shopping Center. Online at orangetheoryfitness.com.
all that is forthcoming. It's already 49 minutes into the hour.
When you're breaking down the offense, it's all I could say. I was talking to the director during the break. They really need to be able to run 11 on 11, 2 separate fields at the same time for this camp. It's critical to work those quarterbacks to the bone to figure out some answers.
Yeah, because if you get an answer, you're going to be really good on offense again. See, I'm talking about greatness. I want to dominate college football. I want to play for titles. I want to be what Georgia is right now. We have always aspired to that. So to get there, you've got to solve problems for the 2024 and 2025 seasons. Now, right now in recruiting, they're doing a good job with that. And we know they hit the portal and hit it well. But they've got to figure out who your quarterback's going to be. I'm not so sure in 2024 it's Tate. I'm not so sure. So we'll see. It could be, but I'm not excluding him. I'm just not so sure it is.
If he is, because that means that his game has climbed to a level of consistency that we have yet to see.
Yeah. So you figure that out. Now you're right. You were right, and I laughed and we had fun with that at the end there when you threw some salt on it and decided to get rid of the fun there by looking at the defense.
It's just, you're going to need a lot of money to retain Patrick Payton.
Well, and I don't know that you can. So Byron Turner needs to not suck. Lamont Green Jr., eat, take steroids, get bigger. But you're going to have Josh Farmer, okay?
You need money for him too.
Well, come on, man. First of all, he's a legacy. Josh Farmer. Sorry, you're right. No, he's not. You do need money. We're already paying him money. He got his already. Come on, Josh.
Keep going.
Let's go. We
Keep
took care of
it up.
Yeah, well, I assume they're going to do that, right? They're going to have to recruit well on the defensive line. I'm with you on this because I'm not, Malcolm Ray is what he is. So we got to do better. Got to do better.
Interior, you're okay for next year.
You're okay.
You got to have more. Well, Lions is going to be fine. Io is good.
Lions
is good too.
Io is really legit good. I don't know that Lions is good. I think he's okay.
Well, he's not a run stuffer, but he's going to be one of those guys in the interior who can make a guy miss and be explosive in the backfield. So he's the lightning. You need more thunder at defensive interior, which is why you need Josh Farmer to come back next year, and you need to spend on Peyton.
And go get some damn linebackers.
Well, you're all set now.
No,
Brian Courtney's here.
No. That was needed. It was needed. It was the right move, as correctly predicted by yours truly over a year ago. But
we got Courtney and Nicholson and OG.
I like Nicholson. I'm excited about that. We'll see. Come on, Omar. Keep developing. Keep developing. There's no superstars there right now. Maybe there will be. Shaheem should be back, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he has to. He would have to be.
Yes, he would. So Shaheem would be back. Kirkland is a stud. Hussey's going to be good.
Hussey's going to be good.
Azariah Thomas is going to be good. Bernardo will be year 9, so he's got to be gone. Dent year 9 got to be gone. So
definitely, yeah.
But Quindarius, we like Quindarius Jones. So I forgot about Quindarius. Yeah, Quindarius is going to be good. See. All right. You're not far away from filling in the holes and piecing it together. Get you a stud defensive tackle in the portal. You do that, like a guy that comes in and dominates. Like a Daryl Jackson type.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, now you do that. That defense doesn't have to suck. You are going to lose Jared Verse, who is you're not going to be able to replace. But we said that about Jermaine Johnson,
Fabian Fisk.
No, I know that's the interior
Daryl.
that you're talking about. I'm worried about all of that. I'm talking about the outside. Patrick, you probably lose.
That's again. I think if the pie was divided more equally between players like, I don't know, Jordan Travis, Johnny Wilson, Trey Benson, Fabian Love, and Jared Verse this last year, you could probably take 3 of those slices combined into one for a guy like Patrick Payton.
Yeah. They're going to have some portal work to do on that side of the ball. There's no doubt. Like when we're talking about, a defensive tackle, a defensive end, a linebacker, I'm all right with the secondary. I think they're going to be able to fill those spots. They've got on the roster right now that I like.
Yeah, and you might want to dip in for one more O-lineman, maybe. Take a look at that situation. But you could have Lucas and Armella as your 2 tackles next year. Keandre Jones, I would think, will be back for another year, and some of those young pups have developed.
You are absolutely set on the offensive line next year. I think you're fine there. And then I think you're going to like your tackles next year. No. The offensive side of the ball, I'm really not looking at. It is truly the defensive side of the ball that I'm looking at as, okay, now, granted, the one exception is that you do have to find a quarterback that you love.
Yeah, but you don't necessarily have to go to the portal for that.
No. You got guys.
In-house, you've got
In
options.
fact, I don't think they are going to want to go to the portal for that.
Agreed.
I don't think
you're going to run two guys off.
Well, if you went to the portal for that, it would mean that Tate Rodemaker just wasn't the guy and you were willing to sacrifice him. Because you could pull, so for example, you could pull Brock Glenn and AJ Duffy and Croman Hawk if you needed to in and say, guys, you're going to have your fair chance to start. But let's say you were pushing Tate out and there was a viable senior quarterback like you've seen all around the ACC, Jerkovich or somebody like that, right?
Yeah.
Djokovic, like somebody like that, right? Now, I'm not saying because this is his last year, but a guy like that is available who you know is plug and play, makes you better. I'm just using him. You know, you would maybe think about doing that at that point.
Yeah, but you're running off Duffy too.
I don't care. You're running off Duffy.
I know that's where you would go, and that's the conclusion you would draw. But yes, if you bring in a portal guy, you're losing two that you currently have on the roster.
Well, one of them's Tate, so you don't care about that. If you've decided to go that route, it means you've already decided that.
Correct.
So you don't care about that. The only one you'd care about is AJ, maybe. But if Croman Hawk and Glenn are great, then you don't care at all.
Which is why you've got to run offense on two fields at the same. I mean, they have to get as many reps as possible this camp. They got to. Critical.
Man, the competition over and over and over again. I talk about what's going to be fun in camp is this competition's going to be intense. Woo. This has been fun. No probables today, baby.
Nobody's pitching.
No, nobody's pitching. Good work out of you. Good job, Director Matthew. Be well, everybody. Hope you enjoy the rest of your Monday. Peace.